Welcome back to the channel Top Coin. My friends, today we are diving deep into the story of a small but fascinating piece of Canadian coinage, the 1979 Canada 5-cent coin. Now you may think it is just another nickel sitting quietly in change jars and drawers across the country, but what if I told you that some examples of this coin can actually be worth far more than their face value and could end up being a treasure hidden in plain sight? Let's start with the history of the Canadian 5-cent piece. By 1979, the coin had already gone through several changes since its introduction in the late 1800s. Originally, Canada issued a silver 5-cent piece, often called a fish scale because of its tiny size and shiny silver content. That coin was eventually replaced in 1922 by the nickel version we are all familiar with, made of pure nickel and slightly larger in size. The 5-cent piece has carried different designs over time, but the most iconic and lasting design came in 1937 with the beaver motif created by artist G.E. Kruger Gray. The design still sits proudly on the reverse of Canadian nickels today. The 1979 Canadian 5-cent coin follows this tradition. On the obverse you will find the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machin, which was used on Canadian coinage from 1965 up until 1989. This portrait shows the Queen facing right with a youthful crownless design. On the reverse you see the famous beaver sitting on a rock in the middle of a river with water flowing around, and the word Canada above, along with the date 1979 and the denomination 5 cents below. Now let's talk about mintage and production. In 1979, the Royal Canadian Mint struck tens of millions of these coins, so in general they are quite common in circulated condition. The coin is made primarily of nickel and weighs about 4.64 grams with a diameter of just over 21 millimeters. It has a plain, smooth edge like all modern Canadian nickels. So why is this coin worth talking about today? The reason is that while most examples are only worth face value or maybe a small premium in uncirculated condition, there are some rare varieties and high-grade examples that collectors pay a lot of money for. For example, uncirculated mint state coins graded MS65 or higher can sell for several dollars to collectors depending on demand. If you manage to find one in MS66 or MS67, the value can climb even higher, since flawless coins from this year are not very common. But the real interest comes when you look at special mint sets or proof-like strikes from the Royal Canadian Mint. Collectors love coins with sharp strikes, strong luster and no scratches, and these high-quality examples often command strong prices on the market. Coins in proof-like condition can be worth anywhere from $10 to $20 and sometimes even more depending on the grade. Another factor to consider is errors. Coin errors are always popular with collectors, and the 1979 Canadian nickel is no exception. Off-center strikes, double dies, planchette flaws and other unusual errors can turn a common coin into a valuable collectible. Sometimes error nickels can fetch anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on the type and rarity of the mistake. If you ever come across a 1979 Canadian 5-cent coin that looks different, strange or misaligned, it might be worth setting aside and getting evaluated by a coin dealer. Now let's discuss the current market value in today's coin market as of this year. Circulated 1,979 nickels typically sell for only a few cents above face value. However, if you have an uncirculated one straight from a mint roll or a proof-like version, it could easily bring $5, $10 or even $20 at auction. The real money comes from those superb gem quality examples graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Coins in MS67 can sometimes reach over $100 because collectors are always looking for the best of the best and the competition drives up prices. Another important note is the historical value. Some collectors enjoy building complete sets of Canadian nickels from 1922 to the present day, and for them every year matters, including 1979. If they are missing that date in high grade, they will be willing to pay more to fill the gap. This makes even common years like 1979 interesting to serious numismatists. Let me also point out the cultural context. By 1979, Canada was celebrating over a decade of decimal coinage under Queen Elizabeth II. The nickel was still entirely made of nickel metal, which would later change in the 1980s and 1990s when the composition shifted to save costs. So these late 1970s nickels are part of the last era of traditional nickel metal coinage that alone makes them collectible to certain people who focus on metal composition as much as design. So if you are going through change or maybe have an old jar of coins from parents or grandparents, take a close look at your nickels from the 1970s. Pay attention to the 1979s, because if you find one in perfect shape or discover an unusual error, you might just have something worth far more than 5 cents. To sum it up, here is what you should remember. The 1979 Canadian 5-cent coin is common in circulation but has potential value in higher grades. Proof-like or mint state examples can sell for $10 to $20 or more. Error coins can fetch $50 to several $100. depending on rarity, and the very highest graded coins sometimes break the $100 mark thanks to collector demand. This little coin is a reminder that history and value can be found in the most ordinary looking places. A simple nickel from 1979 might not look like much, but when you understand the story behind it, the design, the production, and the collector interest, it suddenly becomes a small piece of Canadian heritage and maybe even a valuable collectible in your hands. So keep your eyes open and always check your pocket change. You never know what treasure might be hiding there. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful and interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other coin collectors or anyone curious about Canadian history. Drop a comment down below and let me know if you have ever found a valuable 1979 nickel or any other cool coin in circulation. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your next coin hunt bring you something special. Today we are diving deep into a fascinating coin that has caught the attention of collectors and history lovers across the world, the Canadian 5-cent coin from 1987. This small nickel carries with it more stories than you might imagine, and for some collectors it could even carry a surprising amount of value. Now, before we get into the details, let us set the stage. The Canadian 5-cent coin has gone through many changes over the years. Originally introduced in the late 1800s, it has been minted in silver, in nickel, and eventually in multiplated steel, but the year 1987 holds a special place because of the particular design elements, the economic backdrop, and the way certain rare errors make these coins worth far more than their face value. The obverse of the coin from 1987 features the classic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II sculpted by Arnold Machin. This design shows the Queen facing right with a youthful, elegant appearance. The words Elizabeth II DG Regina surround her image. This portrait was used on Canadian coins from 1965 all the way up to 1989, so the 1987 nickel belongs to that important era of Canadian numismatics. On the reverse we find the famous beaver design. The beaver has long been a symbol of Canada, representing hard work, resourcefulness, and national pride. Designed by G.E. Kruger Gray, this image shows a beaver resting on a rock with water lines beneath. It has been a hallmark of the 5-cent coin since 1937, and by 1987 it was already a beloved national icon. Now, what makes the 1987 5-cent coin interesting to collectors is not just the design but the mintage history and the varieties. In 1987, the Royal Canadian Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins for circulation. They were made of nickel with a diameter of just over 21 millimeters and a weight of 4.6 grams. On the surface they might look like ordinary pocket change, but hidden among these coins are rare conditions and even some error strikes that bring real market value. Let us talk about the condition factor first. Coins are graded on a scale, with lower grades being well circulated and higher grades being mint state or proof. Like if you happen to find a 1987 Canadian nickel that has never been used in circulation with sharp details, brilliant luster, and no scratches, then you could have something that collectors will pay good money for. In uncirculated mint state conditions, these coins can reach values ranging from a few dollars up to 20 or more depending on the grade, but the real treasures are the error coins. Every now and then mistakes at the mint create coins that are completely unique. Some 1987 nickels have been reported with off-center strikes, double dies, planchette errors, and other unusual variations. These can skyrocket in value. Some examples have sold for $50, $100, even several $100s depending on the type of error and the demand among collectors. Another key detail about 1987 is that it was a transitional period for Canadian coinage. The Royal Canadian Mint was experimenting with different production techniques and finishes, which means certain proof-like sets and specimen strikes were made with an extra high-quality shine. These coins, when preserved in their original sets or when found loose in pristine condition, can fetch a premium on today's market. Now let us talk about the current market value. Collectors today are willing to pay for nostalgia as well as rarity. While a regular circulated 1987 5-cent coin might still only be worth 5 cents, the truth is that collectors always hunt for high-grade examples in certified mint state grades like MS65 or higher. These coins can trade in the $10 to $30 range. Special varieties or proof strikes can go even higher, and when it comes to dramatic mint errors, the sky is the limit. A truly rare piece can sell at auction for hundreds of dollars. It is also important to mention that Canadian coinage has a strong collector base, not only in Canada but worldwide. Coin enthusiasts from the United States, Europe, and Asia often seek out Canadian coins for their beauty and historical value. So when you own a coin like the 1987 5-cent piece, especially in top condition, you are not just holding a bit of metal, you are holding a piece of history, a story of the nation, and potentially a valuable asset. Imagine this for a moment. You are searching through your change jar or an old coin collection passed down from a relative, and you spot a shiny 1987 nickel. At first glance it seems ordinary, But then you look closer, the details are sharp, the shine is brilliant, maybe there is even a striking error you had never noticed before. That tiny discovery could turn a 5-cent piece into a treasure worth real money. This is the thrill of coin collecting and why so many people are drawn to the hobby. So if you have any 1987 Canadian 5-cent coins in your collection, do not overlook them. Check the condition, look for errors, and consider having them graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Certification adds trust and can greatly increase the resale value of your coin. To wrap things up, the 1987 Canadian 5-cent coin might seem like ordinary change, but it carries a story of national identity, beautiful design, and hidden treasures. For most, it will remain a nostalgic reminder of the late 1980s, but for some lucky collectors, it could represent a coin worth far more than its face value. If you enjoyed learning about the history and value of this coin, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because we are bringing you more deep dives into rare coins, valuable finds, and fascinating stories from the world of numismatics. And who knows, maybe your next coin could be worth a lot more than you think. Today we are diving into a small but mighty piece of Canadian currency history, the 2007 Canadian 5-cent coin. Now you might be thinking it is just a nickel that you can still find in your change today, but what if I told you some versions of this coin could be worth much more than just 5 cents? That's right, this tiny coin in your pocket might have a fascinating story behind it, and in some cases a value that goes far beyond its face value. So let's start with the basics. The 5-cent coin in Canada has a long tradition. The design most of us know and recognize features the beaver sitting on a rock. The beaver has been on the Canadian nickel since 1937 and has become one of the most iconic Canadian coin designs. It was created by G.E. Kruger Gray, and it symbolizes hard work, resourcefulness, and Canada's natural heritage. The coin's obverse, the front side, carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II in 2007. The effigy was the one designed by Susanna Blunt, introduced in 2003, showing the Queen without a crown. This was a modern and fresh take compared to the earlier portraits. Now, the year 2007 may not seem particularly special at first glance, but coin collectors know that small differences in coins can make a huge difference in value. What makes the 2007 5-cent coin worth looking into is the fact that there were a number of variations, minting issues, and even some rare errors that occurred during production. Coins are struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in Winnipeg for circulation and in Ottawa for collector pieces, and sometimes differences in striking or planchette quality can create rare finds. Most 2007 5-cent coins you come across in circulation will only be worth their face value, 5 cents. If you pull one out of your pocket change today, it is likely worth no more than a nickel. But here is where it gets interesting. Some special versions, like those struck for collector sets or coins that came out with minting errors, can be worth far more. Serious collectors are always on the lookout for examples with sharp strikes, high-grade condition, and especially mint-state coins graded by companies like PCGS or NGC. Let's talk about condition first. A regular 2007 Canadian nickel in worn circulated condition is not worth much more than 5 cents, maybe 10 cents to a collector who wants a filler. But if you have a coin that has never been in circulation, a coin that looks shiny and fresh, without scratches, dents, or wear, that is what collectors call uncirculated or mint state. These coins can already fetch higher prices. For example, a 2007 5-cent coin graded MS65, which means near perfect condition, can sometimes sell for several dollars rather than just 5 cents. But the real money comes in when we start looking at rarities and errors. Errors are unintentional mistakes made during the minting process, and collectors absolutely love them. Some reported error types on Canadian nickels include double die errors, off-center strikes, planchette flaws, or misaligned dies. If you find a 2007 5-cent coin with one of these rare mint errors, the value can jump dramatically. In some cases, collectors have paid $20, $50, or even hundreds of dollars for unusual and rare errors, depending on how dramatic and well preserved the error is. There is also the proof and specimen strike category. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, struck with polished dies, giving them a mirror-like background and frosted design element. Specimen coins are also high quality with a different finish. These were not intended for everyday circulation. If you happen to have a 2007 proof or specimen 5-cent coin in its original Royal Canadian Mint packaging, the value is usually several dollars and sometimes much more depending on the demand. Now let's talk about the market today. As of right now, Canadian coin collectors still actively trade and hunt down coins from the modern era, while older coins tend to be more valuable. Certain modern coins with errors or extremely high grade examples have been commanding strong prices at auctions. A 2007 5-cent coin in top-grade condition has been seen selling for between $5 and $20 depending on the grade, and if it carries a rare minting error, the price can climb even higher. In the world of coin collecting, rarity and condition are everything. A coin that is rare and in pristine condition will always attract attention and strong bids. You might be wondering how to Check if your coin has extra value. Here are a few quick tips. First, check the condition. If your coin looks shiny and flawless, you might want to get it graded by a professional. Second, look for anything unusual about the coin, like a double rim, a misstrike, an extra line, or something that seems off compared to a normal nickel. And third, check to see if it came from a collector set or proof set. If so, its value is already higher than face value. The 2007 5-cent coin is a great reminder that even the coins in your pocket change can hold hidden value. It might be small, it might look ordinary, but sometimes these coins are hiding in plain sight and can turn into a treasure worth many times their face value. And that is one of the joys of coin collecting. You never really know what you might discover. So the next time you get some change at the store, do not ignore those nickels. Take a closer look, because that 2007 Canadian 5-cent coin could be more than just spare change. It could be history in your hand and maybe even money in your pocket. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about the 2007 Canadian nickel and its potential value, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our future coin videos. Drop a comment below and let us know if you have ever found an unusual Canadian nickel or if you collect modern coins. We love hearing your stories. Until next time, happy collecting and good luck treasure hunting. Today we are diving deep into one of the most underrated and fascinating coins from Canada, the 2010 Canadian 5-cent piece. Many people pass over the nickel without giving it much thought, but what if I told you that some 2010 nickels could actually be worth far more than just 5 cents? In this video we will uncover the full history of the Canadian 5-cent coin, the story behind the 2010 issue, what makes certain examples rare and collectible, and of course we will break down the current market value so you know exactly what to look for in your change or coin collection. Let us begin with the history. The Canadian 5-cent coin has a long and rich history stretching back to the mid-1800s. Originally, 5-cent coins in Canada were actually made of silver, and they were very small, earning the nickname fish scales. By the 1920s, the rising cost of silver made it impractical, so Canada transitioned to larger coins made of nickel, which is why even today we casually refer to the coin as a nickel. From 1922 onward, the coin carried new designs, and throughout history the 5-cent piece has featured various symbols of Canadian culture. Fast forward to the modern era, the beaver design on the reverse of the coin has been a Canadian icon since 1937, created by artist G.E. Kruger Gray. The image of a beaver sitting on a rock represents hard work, industry, and the spirit of Canada. It has become one of the most recognizable coin designs in the country and has remained largely unchanged for decades. The obverse, of course, features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, which has evolved over the years depending on the official portrait in use. Now let us focus specifically on the year 2010. The 2010 Canadian 5-cent coin was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in two different facilities, Winnipeg and Ottawa. The coin is made of a multiply plated steel with a nickel finish. The specifications include a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, a weight of 3.95 grams, and a smooth plain edge. The obverse shows the mature effigy of Queen Elizabeth II by artist Susanna Blunt, which has been in use since 2003. The reverse remains the famous beaver design. What makes the 2010 issue interesting is not just its role in everyday circulation, but also the fact that certain errors, varieties, and high-grade examples are sought after by collectors. Most regular circulation strikes are common and easily found, but condition is everything. If you happen to have a 2010 nickel in mint state condition, meaning it is bright, shiny, and free from circulation, where it could already be worth more than face value to collectors, coin grading agencies such as PCGS and NGC often assign designations like MS65, MS66 or higher to such coins, and the price jumps significantly the higher the grade. Another fascinating element comes from minting errors. As with many modern coins, the mint produces millions of nickels each year, but occasionally mistakes slip through. This could include double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, or die clashes. A genuine mint error from 2010 can transform a simple 5-cent piece into a coin worth anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on the rarity and demand. Let us talk numbers. The mintage of the 2010 5-cent coin was in the hundreds of millions, which means the average coin in circulation is not rare. However, scarcity comes into play when we look at uncirculated rolls, proof like sets, or coins graded at the very top of the scale. For instance, a 2010 nickel graded MS67 by PCGS has sold in auctions for anywhere between $50 and $150. Because such pristine coins are extremely difficult to find in pocket change, if you happen to discover one in exceptional condition, consider sending it for grading, because the market values high-quality modern Canadian coins more than ever. Now let us discuss collector interest. Today many collectors focus on building complete date sets of Canadian nickels from 1922 all the way to the present. That means the 2010 Issue plays an important role in filling a gap in those collections. Beyond that, error coin specialists are always on the hunt for unusual strikes from 2010, so keeping an eye out for coins that look odd or misstruck could really pay off. So what is the current market value of a 2010 Canadian 5-cent coin? The answer depends on condition and rarity. In average circulated condition, it is worth 5 cents just face value. However, in uncirculated condition, values can range from $1 to $10 depending on grade. If certified as MS66 or MS67, the price can climb much higher, reaching as much as $150 or more. For top population coins, error coins from the same year can command values from $50 all the way into the hundreds, and in rare cases even higher. To put it simply, the key to unlocking value in your 2010 Canadian nickel is attention to detail. Look for a coin that has sharp details, no scratches, brilliant luster, and possibly any minting anomalies. Always check the obverse and reverse closely under magnification, because sometimes small doubling or die cracks can make a world of difference in the eyes of collectors. So if you are a casual collector or just someone who wants to make sure no hidden treasures slip through your fingers, start checking your pocket change. Who knows, that ordinary looking 2010 nickel you get back at the grocery store could actually be worth much more than its face value. With coin values on the rise and collectors searching for pristine modern coins, the demand for high-grade and error examples continues to grow. In conclusion, the 2010 Canadian 5-cent coin is more than just a simple piece of change. It carries with it the history of Canada's nickel, the artistry of its famous beaver design, and the potential for hidden value. If you are lucky enough to own a mint state or error example, you could be holding a small but significant treasure in your hand. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and remember, every coin has a story waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 2010 Canadian 5-cent coin. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode on coin collecting and values. Drop a comment below and let me know if you have found any 2010 nickels in high grade or with errors. I love hearing your stories and discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting and good luck hunting for treasures in your pocket change.